Hello vinyl community, I'm back to do another Acid Archives video. And the other day I was looking at Dylan from Noble Records when he did his video with his 20 most rare and valuable records. And if you know Dylan, you know he has a monster collection. And if something is on his top 20 list, it's really rare. And I had one LP on his list. That is this LP. Relatively Clean Rivers, released in 1976, recorded by a guy called Phil Pearlman and a couple of other guys. They played some kind of electric folk rock, very trippy, very psychedelic in parts. This LP is kind of, you're entering the mind of a person who's on a spiritual journey or something. It's very spiritual and it's very like he's looking for something and questioning the modern way of life, you know. And he eventually moved out in the country to live his dream. I don't know if he found his dream, but he did it. And I'm gonna tell you the story, and I'm gonna play you a sample from every track on this LP. I have an original here. It was released privately, pressed in 1,000 copies, and it was released in a gatefold cover with some. There are two versions of this cover, one with just a picture on the inside here, and one, the most common one, is with these two green text boxes. He had done the design for this inside just with a black and white picture, but the printer said that, yeah, you can have color on the inside. So he went back and added these green boxes. And he pressed 900 copies, this version, and after that he pressed 100 copies without the green box, just to see how it looked. And so that one is even more rare than this one, but both are like first press, and that was how he did them. I'm gonna show you the label. It was released on Pacific Is, with this label. This was his own label that he used for this release. And the guy behind this LP is called Phil Pearlman, as I said, and he had started in the mid-60s to record music, and he released two LPs, one in 1967 under the name Beat of the Earth, and he released another one called the Electric Hole that was released in 1970. And both those LPs are privately released, and they are monster rare psych LPs that are highly sought after, and they are really good as well. So the first one he pressed in 500 copies, and the second one he pressed in like 200 copies, I think. So they are very rare. But after the second release he did something else for a couple of years, because nothing happened until this LP appeared in 1976. So what he did those years, no one really knows. Anywho, this LP came out in 76, but was probably recorded in 75, maybe even earlier. And he recorded it in a studio called United Audio in Santa Ana, California. And it was basically his project. He played most of the instruments and he wrote all the songs and everything, but he had two other guys who played with him. He had Kurt Baker, who played guitar and vocals, and Dwight Moruse on drums. So I guess they basically did the backing tracks, and he added a lot of instruments over it. He added like guitars, bass, harmony vocals, there are some flutes in here, there are some synthesizers, there are harmonica, and so on. It sometimes feels like the drummer is like napping behind the set, because they are like dropping tempo and stuff. So it was definitely recorded live with these musicians, and they kept it that way. And I feel it's very authentic and very real, this music. Came with an insert, just a thin paper insert with a picture of the band members, and apparently Phil Pearlman didn't want pictures of the band on the LP cover, but he did this to please the others in the band. And you can see two of them are bright white, you can see him, but the picture of Phil is just like dark black, you can't really see his face. So he didn't want to appear on the LP, and so he did these pictures on the cover. After this LP was released, he kind of tried to promote it as good as he could, but in 1976 there wasn't a lot of interest for like hippie folk rock. So he tried as best he could. He like put these out on park benches on college campuses around the LA area, and he even did something that he called reverse shoplifting, where he used to sneak them into record stores and put them in the shelves just so people could find it, but no one like paid attention to it. And most of the copies ended up at his home with him. Eventually he like dropped out from music for good, and he moved out to the Californian desert or to the mountains to start a goat farm. And probably all the copies he had left of this LP was stored in that farm somewhere for years and years, because nothing happened with this, and it was like a forgotten classic. But in the 80s, psych record collectors had found out about the Beat of the Earth LPs and had managed to track him down and contacted him and asked if he had copies left to sell. So he sold all the Beat of the Earth LPs that he had for only $25 each to some collector that then started to sell them really expensive to collectors all over the world. And this was in the late 80s, I believe. But later on, Phil Pearlman found out that these records are selling for hundreds of dollars. So when the collectors approached him again in the 90s, when they found out about this LP, he didn't want to do the same mistake again. So this time he said, I won't sell my copies, but I will sell 10 each year. So he had a deal with some collector that sold like 10 copies every year on eBay. So they could, the price would remain high, and he would get some money for his old copies. And I remember this period. They used to turn up on eBay for like 15 years ago, and were selling for quite a lot all the time, and they were from his personal stock. So he got some money from it, but he never wanted to reissue it, so it has never been properly reissued. There are many reissues out there, but everyone are like vinyl sourced, so he won't let go of the master tapes if he have them, I don't know. So the only way to listen to it properly is to find an original, and I mean it's almost impossible to find them these days. Anywho, I managed to buy a copy. It probably came from Phil Pearlman's stock, but I bought it from a collector here in Stockholm who had it. And I should also mention that probably every copy that came from Phil Pearlman's own storage were like to some degree warped. And my copy is a bit warped as well, but it's no problem. It plays fine, so it just has this mild warping. But some collectors that bought this, they bought it sealed in the beginning when he was selling them. So some of the copies were unplayable, and they didn't accept any refund or didn't want to take them back. So many collectors got like burnt on this one, and eventually Phil started to like open them and play check them before he was selling them on eBay to see if they were playable. So even though he pressed like 1,000 copies of this, many were so warped that they couldn't be played. Anywho, I'm very glad to have this LP, and I'm gonna do some samples from it to go through all the songs, because every song on this LP is like great. It's not a dull moment here. It's a super great LP. And it starts off with a song called Easy Ride. Lovely Grateful Dead styled song, swampy bluesy riff, some harmonicas, and when the harmony vocals hits, it just takes you to another place. That song starts this journey, his spiritual journey in his mind. Let's listen to it. Then we have a song called Journey Through the Valley of O, one of the highlights on the LP. It's basically just a one-chord song, very jammy, but not like boring jammy. It's not like shredding guitar solos or anything. It's just like different guitars and flutes are changing all the time, and they're weaving into each other like a psychedelic net or something. And it's just like verse, jam, and then that's the end of the song. It's a perfect one-chord jam song, and it's like mind-blowing.
Too many islands swallowed up by the tide. Is there any other answer? Will someone else decide? Could I believe if I had nothing to gain? Would I walk away to paradise, or keep on playing the game, keep on alone?
Then we have a song called Babylon that starts off with more acoustic guitar fingerpicking intro. Then it turns into this like folk rock song, which eventually turns into this like wild freakouts with crazy synthesizers and crazy fuzz guitars. Last track on the A side is called Last Flight to Eden, and that is just pure wonderful acid folk. 2 acoustic guitars and some flute. Just a lovely ending to the A side of the LP. On the B side, the journey continues, and it starts where it ended the A side. They just take a snippet from Last Flight to Eden and played it entirely backwards. It goes into a song called Hello Sunshine, a great slow folk rock song. It has some psychedelic backwards guitar interplay with other guitars and flutes, and it's really simple as well. You know this lovely verse goes into some kind of jam. Another verse into the jam, another verse into the jam. Most of these jammy songs have this fade out that I really love, because it don't feel like an end. It feels like it continues.
So hello sunshine, I feel fine. I've got to go now, oh now, singing try. Everything is off my mind.
Next one is a song called They Knew What to Say, a lovely folk rock song, like a sloppy, stoned Californian dream trip.
People walking around, no world without any sound. Voices fill in the air, silent everywhere.
Next one is a song called Persian Caravan. That's an instrumental, very trippy, has like this, a lot of guitars going on. There are some backwards cymbals in the mix, there are some recorders. Very fine acid folk, kind of folk rock. Last track on the B-side is 1,000 Years. That is, they have added some banjo to the mix that gives this a more "Oh brother, where art thou" feeling to it. Still very trippy and still very, very psychedelic.
So tell us what the sign will be to the end of the age we know. War and famine everywhere, there's no place left to go. God sent the message down to God.
Yeah, I should also read the book, of course. It's kind of a long review by Patrick Lombard, so I won't read it, the whole of it, but I will read parts of it. Relatively clean Rivers, California, rarity scale 4. Not known to exist until the mid-90s, Phil Pearlman's melodic California Desert Trip has grown to become the most admired albums among rare LP collectors. I found it fairly ordinary sounding at first, but over the years a profound and very pure spirit has emerged from beneath its humble surface. For sure, a multi-layered trip. Relatively Clean Rivers is an easily accessible work, open to everyone with an ear for early Neil Young and the 70-71 Grateful Dead. Young's influences easy to spot, with overall organic mood and that reaches back to the Everybody Knows era. Fans of West Coast rural rock are likely to nod in approval of the intricate guitar tapestries, the understated vocals, the flowing melodies and occasional flourish of flute, wind chimes and jazz. But what sets this LP apart from hundreds of similar journeys along the Marin County Topanga Canyon axis, and that took long for me to recognize, is that it isn't quite there either, but seems to observe the post-acid lifestyle from a third cardinal point, high up in the California desert. As you start hearing this contemplative desert mood, the album reveals a deeper and rarer level, which could be taking as a harmonious summing up of the whole psychedelic era. From the urban freakouts of '67 through up the country trend of Woodstock years and into the quiet retreats of the mid-70s communes. The LP is about not selling out. It projects a successful fulfillment of the original vision of the psychedelic 60s. Relatively Clean Rivers is one of the ultimate Californian albums, even while a couple of the tracks still sound somewhat unfinished to me. And even among those who can't dig the old West Coast trip, I challenge you to find a single person who dislikes Journey Through the Valley of O, which is a 4 minutes of spellbinding musical perfection. Yeah, Patrick Lombard, he likes it. Yeah, folks, that's it. Relatively Clean Rivers. It became a quite long review this time, but it's such a great LP and I wanted to play some snippets from every track, because this is every track, every single minute on this LP is just fantastic and I highly recommend it to listen to it. The vinyl rip of the original is available on YouTube. You can listen to the entire album. So thanks for listening. Thanks for tuning in. Please be sure to subscribe to this channel if you like my content. I will do more Acid Archives videos in the future. So for now, take care and peace out.